If you're planning on starting your own business, either as a sole trader or a limited company, there are 10 things that I want you guys to be aware of. Now, I started my first limited company back in 2008, so that's about 14 years ago. And before that, I was also self-employed alongside my regular employment for a few years as well. And during that time, I've picked up a few things that I think is important that anyone that's starting a new business should be aware of, as starting a new business is a very exciting time and we usually focus on all of the positives, but there are a number of trade-offs that do come with it. So that's what we're going to be looking at in this video. 10 of the things you need to be aware of if you are planning on starting a business. So up first, all self-employed workers have to complete a self-assessment. So whether you're a sole trader or whether you're starting a limited company, you all need to carry out a self-assessment every year. Now, you may have an accountant and you might get them to do the self-assessment for you, but the majority of sole traders don't bother with that and they do the self-assessment themselves. And to be fair, doing a self-assessment is reasonably straightforward, so don't be scared away by that. If you allocate maybe 15 minutes to 30 minutes per year to actually do the self-assessment, but it all comes down to keeping the relevant records. If your records are up to date and you keep a track of all your income and outgoings, and of course your tax deductible expenses, then your self-assessment should be fairly straightforward. The next thing to be aware of is that self-employed workers are not entitled to holiday or sick pay. So if you're ill, no one is going to pay you SSP, which is statutory sick pay. No one is going to pay you that. And if you go on holiday, no one is going to pay you any holiday pay. Now, obviously, you're hopefully going to be making enough money from your business that if you do go on holiday, you can still pay yourself a salary, but it's certainly worth being aware of that you do not have any entitlements as soon as you become self-employed. So up next, we've got working for free is often essential. Now, I don't like seeing it this way, but you do often end up working for free if you have your own business. And this point, along with many of the other points in this video, will very much depend on the type of business that you run. In some businesses, this will apply a lot more, and in other businesses, it won't. So just keep that in mind as we go through this list. So working for free is often essential. So if you have to go to a sales meeting, you have to put some quotes or estimates together. If they don't end up returning work, you're not actually going to make any money for that time that you've committed. I remember when I used to have a web design business, I would go to sales meetings. So I'd spend probably half a day going to a meeting, doing a pitch for an hour or so, putting that information together, putting a quote together, sending it over. And if you didn't land that job, you've wasted half a day. You've worked for free for half a day. And you also got to do all your admin tasks and stuff like that. So although you're going to be making money with your business, you're also going to be working for free some of the time, which is very different to being employed. It's just something you get used to over time. Number 4, we've got being self-employed is not working for yourself, which sounds kind of ironic, as this is why most people start their own business. It's actually working for clients. This is for the majority of businesses. Of course, not all businesses depend on clients, but this is how it works. So when I stopped working for someone, so my first employed job out of university was working at a web design company, and I had one boss and a few middle managers. But when I actually quit that job to start my own web design business, all of a sudden, within a year or two, I had 50 bosses. I had 50 clients telling me what they want. So as much as you're going to be working for yourself, you're also going to be working for your clients. So keep that in mind. So number 5 is social isolation. Now, probably that's quite a hot topic at the moment with all of the isolation over the past few years. But I remember when I went fully self-employed on my own, when I broke away from my business partner, it wasn't too bad for me. I'm quite happy in my own company, but a lot of people do struggle with the social isolation of starting a business. Now, obviously it depends on the type of business you're running. If you're a tradesman and going out to jobs all the time, you're probably going to feel that a lot less. But for me, who was building websites in an office on my own, just me and the desk, it can be quite isolating. So think about your personality type. If you're going to struggle with social isolation, maybe don't have a home office, maybe find a local business hub where you can get an office with other startups to kind of help manage this issue. Number 6, which I covered in a video a month or two ago, which is mortgage difficulties. Anyone starting a business will struggle to get a mortgage for the first 2 years until they've got records and accounts covering those 2 years to prove their income. If you are planning on starting a business and want to move or remortgage, get that done first before you start your own business, as it will be a lot easier if you're an employee, whereas when you become self-employed, things do get more difficult. Number 7, as you'd expect, increased stress and pressure. which I think is part of any employed job as well. But becoming self-employed, you do feel it a bit more, especially when the money starts to dry up, or if there's a major issue and you know the buck stops with you and you have to resolve that. But I'm sure you guys are already aware, if you're going to be starting your own business, there's going to be times where you're going to feel that stress and pressure. Number 8, cash flow. Now, cash flow is king, is a saying, and it is very true. What you have to get used to with being self-employed is that income can be quite lumpy. So you might have a really good month followed by a quiet month, then another really good month and a couple of quiet months. What I used to do was set kind of a baseline figure that I pay myself. So even if I had a month where I'd make like 10K, I'd still only pay myself my core income of maybe 2,000 or something like that. So that would help me give me more of a salary income rather than waiting to see how much I earned each month. So maybe try and establish that. Also, clients are slow to pay. And again, that will depend on the industry. If you're working with the public, you're probably gonna be billing them on the day. Whereas you're working with other small businesses, you might be waiting 30 to 60 days to get paid. And if you're working with large businesses, you might be waiting a few months to get paid. So sometimes you might have done all of that work and the client's putting all that pressure on it because they want it yesterday, and then you deliver that work and then they don't pay you for 3 months. And then you have to walk that fine line between wanting to tell the client what you really think of them and they're slow paying versus not wanting to risk losing out on future work. So again, managing your emotion when it comes to cash flow will really help you and your business. Number 9, you have to be good at sales and marketing. So it doesn't matter how good you are at your job. You could be the best electrician in the world, or you could be the best web designer in the world. But if you can't generate business, if you're no good at sales, going to a sales meeting or marketing, you will never grow your business. Now, you can potentially outsource those aspects of the business, but in the early days when most businesses are cash strapped, you're going to be doing that yourself. So take some time to focus on sales and marketing, as without that, you won't have a business to grow in the first place. And finally, number 10, the tax benefit advantages are overblown. So a lot of people think that everyone that is self-employed is on the con, we're just trying to avoid tax. That is not the case. Whether you're a sole trader, you're going to be paying tax at traditional income rates, or if you've got a limited company and you're paying corporation tax at 19% plus dividend tax on top of that, you aren't actually saving much on tax at all compared to being employed. Yes, there are some tax advantages when it comes to having taxable expenses, and that can be used to your advantage with either type of business. But certainly don't think that starting your own business is going to be this huge tax haven that's going to prevent you paying any money to the government. So if you're thinking of starting your own business, hopefully those 10 things will give you something to think about. If you found this video helpful, I'd appreciate you hit that like button. If you want to see more from me, subscribe to the channel. And what I'm going to do now in front of me is pop up a video. It's going to talk you through the 10 advantages of starting a limited company. So if you're thinking about going down that route, I recommend you guys give that a watch.